Hi everyone, Stepan here. I'm going to continue covering the games from the Šolta Chess Open I played in August this summer, and in round 1 I played against a strong international master, got crushed as you could have seen in yesterday's video. In round 2, as it commonly happens, after you lose in round 1 you play somebody much lower rated. In this game I played a 1600 rated opponent. He started e4, I played the Caro-Kann, d4, d5, and we have the exchange. And now instead of the two normal moves, c4 the Panov or bishop d3 the exchange, he played bishop f4. And bishop f4 is not a good move. There are two reasons for that. The first one is it doesn't really do much. You are able to get your bishop onto this diagonal regardless of what black does, because black has to play e6 and bishop to d6 and ideally get his bishop out to g4 or to f5 before doing that. So this diagonal is secure. The reason why white plays bishop d3 is to make sure that black isn't able to occupy the f5 square with his light square bishop. And of course, before playing knight f6, bishop g4 is impossible. So bishop d3 is the main move for a very good reason. And bishop f4 immediately gives black a very good position. Now, here I could start knight c6. I could start even queen b6, exploiting this weakness, since he hasn't played c3 yet, so it's not easy to play queen b3. But I played bishop f5. I was actually prepared for this position, weirdly enough. Bishop f5 is not the main move. Usually people play knight c6, but this just directly punishes what black is doing. And of course, since the c pawn hasn't moved yet, queen b3 is not an option for white. My opponent continued knight to c3 now, and after knight to c3 there's no doubt that black is simply better. He has two weaknesses, the pawn on d4 and the pawn on c2. His light squared bishop doesn't really have a good square to go to unless he would like to trade it off on d3, which black is perfectly fine doing, because this is black's good bishop in the Caro-Kann. So now I just continue developing knight c6. Played bishop b5 here, not threatening to take, of course, and since the knight is still on g1, not really threatening knight e5 either. So I could just continue e6, but eventually I'm gonna play rook c8, so I played it anyway. And rook c8 could be a useful move later on. Okay, knight f3, e6, knight e5, not a threat now. And here he plays a3. Now, I'm not sure what a3 does. Maybe it's aimed against knight b4, which for the moment is impossible. Bishop b4 I don't think is a threat, because he can always go bishop to d2 or queen to d2, even better. So a3, usually you play a3 when your pawn is on c5 in the Panov, so you can go b4, b5 and stuff like that. But in this position it doesn't really make sense. Okay, bishop d6. I could have also played with knight e7 and castles and h6, g5, bishop g7, but this is just normal. Knight e5 here, and probably it was best to take straight away. So bishop e5, and f6, and after bishop f4 just to continue knight e7. This is probably the strongest way to play, and the follow-up is simple, just castles and pawn to e5 eventually, which should give black a better position. But after knight e5 I just continued knight e7, simple development, defending my c6 knight, and this is where I want my knight anyway, because I want to play f6 in the future, occupying the e5 square. Now h4. I don't really know what to say about this move. It sort of threatens g4, but not really, because I have a ton of ways to secure my bishop. What I should have done in this position is probably just, again, bishop e5, and after bishop e5 just castles. And I don't think I should have any issues, because if he ever pushes g4, that's quite weakening. And also I have knight takes and pawn to d4 just taking on c2, So my bishop and my rook become very useful. Instead of that, I just played h5. I mean, there's really no reason to allow any complications. My pawn is good on h5 anyway. And if I want to play f6, this structure makes a ton of sense. With my light squared bishop still here, the g6 square defended, and my knight is on e7, so there's really no way to exploit g6. Okay, queen to d2, a6, I push the knight away, the bishop away. If he wants to take, I'm perfectly happy. If he doesn't take, then he has to go to a4, and after bishop a4, again, I think just bishop e5, and then b5 would have been good. So after something like bishop b3, then takes, pawn takes, and queen to c7, targeting this guy, targeting the pawn on c2. So if he tries to defend with something like queen e2, then just d4, and once the knight moves, I take on c2, because, for example, takes, and if rook c1, then I can defend with my pawn. So that was sensible. I played b5 first, he played bishop to b3, and now I played queen to c7. I thought this was stronger. This obviously puts triple pressure on the pawn, still keeps the pressure on c2, keeps the pressure on d4, so queen e2, for example, fails to knight d4. And my opponent played queen to e3, which I'd expected, and I'd actually intended to go for f6 straight away. And I think f6 must be winning. I'd analyzed the position extensively after the game. It seems risky because my d5 pawn is actually hanging. The queen is, of course, pinning e6. So I wasn't really sure during the game, and the one thought I had in my mind is don't risk anything. I mean, I was playing a low-rated opponent, I have a good position, I don't have to win straight away, all I have to do is keep my small advantages and win eventually. So if I do go f6, he probably plays knight to d3. I guess knight f3 is also an option, but after knight to d3 I go e5, and threatening to win a piece, threatening to win one of these two as well. So after d5, fe5, if he just moves the bishop away, then I win a piece, simply. But after fe5, he can take knight d5. And when I was analyzing this during the game, it was just too complicated. So knight d5, bishop d5, and of course I go knight e7 here. And I thought, oh, fine, I have to be winning, of course, because two pieces are hanging. But after bishop e5, knight d5, I still wasn't completely sure about this position. Of course, now you see it in front of you. It's simple. I mean, you can just, if he takes, then you take and take the rook, and then take everything, and you win simply. But yeah, during the game that wasn't easy. So I didn't want to get into any of those complications with my d5 pawn hanging, so I just played king to f8, which I figured, I mean, when you think of a move like king f8, you know it's not the best move, but from a human perspective, it's a simple, safe move. d5 is not hanging, I'm still threatening to play f6. So fine, I mean, I sort of had the idea that f6 is the best, but I didn't want to risk anything, as I said. My opponent castled here, and him castling gave me an idea. Of course, now the queen and the king are on the same diagonal, so if I can get my bishop to c5, I win the queen. Therefore, I played bishop to g4. Of course, if he takes that bishop, then I take on f4 first, win a piece. That's simple enough. And if he doesn't take the bishop, if he does nothing, for example, king h1, then I go knight f5, and I just win the d4 pawn, win the game. There was only one move I had to calculate, and that's pawn to f3, and I'd actually invested a ton of time before bishop g4 because of that. My intention was, of course, to take on d4 with the knight. So after f3, knight takes d4. If queen takes d4, then bishop c5. And queen c5 check, rook f2. Of course, I have to move my king now. I cannot save the bishop, so I go king g8, otherwise knight d7 is coming. And now we have g4, h4. I thought this position was winning enough. I don't think black has any tricks, particular tricks, even though there are 3 pieces for the queen for the moment. I think my position is just great. However, after knight takes d4, I was afraid of fg4 actually. And even though this seems completely over, it's actually not over. And I saw it, like, I almost played knight d4, but okay, I didn't in the end because of this. So after fg, I take on b3. And now he simply saves the queen f2. Okay, so preparing bishop e3, if bishop c5. I take on a1. And here's the problem, knight g6 check. If I go to g8, I get mated, simply. If I go to e8, which is the only move, then bishop takes d6, queen takes d6, queen f7, king d7, knight h8. I mean, again, now that you see the position, you know that black is much better, but when you're calculating this during the game, you can easily make mistakes. And obviously, black is winning here, but it's not easy to see that without moving the pieces when analyzing. So after f3, I actually decided to bring my bishop back. I didn't want to risk anything, as I said, so I just played bishop f5. And if he does nothing, then I take on d4, and obviously everything works much better because I don't lose a piece. For example, here, I just take on d4, and I win. So he played knight e2. Okay, and now I realize that my chances have been diminished and that I don't have the same tricks I had before. I missed out on the opportunity to play f6 because the knight is not on c3 anymore. I missed out on the opportunity to take on d4 because the knight is on e2 now. And with this one simple move, he just managed to save himself for the moment, which I was really unhappy about, but I mean, you have to keep playing. So me not taking the risks I should have taken actually allowed him to almost equalize. Okay, now in this position I probably should play knight a5 and let's say rook a to c1 to not lose a pawn, knight c4, knight c4, dc4, maybe bishop a2. This is an overwhelmingly good position for me. Of course, this bishop is bad. I'm threatening to take here. Yeah, and that was a much better option. Instead, I took knight e5, which I think is still fine, but gives up most of my advantage. So bishop e5, d5, and now knight c6. And I thought, okay, there's a weakness on e5. If he plays f4, that restricts his knight a lot. This bishop is really not a good piece until he plays c3. But my assessment of the position was wrong, because after g6, solidifying, preparing king g7, and c3, his position is actually perfectly fine, because he will be able to trade off my good pieces one way or the other. And if we enter a major piece endgame, his weaknesses don't really exist anymore. I played knight a5 now, he played knight d4, I have to save my bishop, so bishop e4, queen to f2, king to g7, and this is becoming more and more equal. He played rook ac1, and now I want to transfer my knight to c5, get into this square if possible, so knight b7, queen to g3, knight c5, and in this position he just lost the game in one move. Unfortunately for him, I mean, I'd missed my chances. This position is, well, should be slightly better for black, but I think it's almost equal. Unfortunately for him, he played rook cd1, which just loses straight away to knight takes, and bishop c2, just giving up the exchange. A normal move like bishop d1, and I honestly have no idea what to do. How do I go for an advantage here? Let's say king h7, just unpinning, plays king h2. How do I break through? I mean, I have to play rook b8, a5, b4. Eventually, I should have an advantage because I have a plan and he doesn't. If he ever pushes b4, then c3 is weak, but this wouldn't have been easy to win. especially because he could play rook g1, queen f2 and g4 and start breaking things open, which is risky and double-edged, but a good plan. But as I said, he played rook cd1, so that's just game over. And the conversion from here, of course, was not hard. There were a couple of tricks. Yeah, I went for b4, of course. Here after g4, I just played rook g8 to make sure that if he opens the position, I'm the one controlling the g file. Nothing much went on, I just broke through. Yeah, okay, after queen c2, I have to unpin because gh was a threat. My g pawn is pinned. Now queen c1, threatening to play f5 and queen h6 checkmate, so rook to g7. And after this, there are no more tricks. Rook g3, bc3, b3, and queen c5. And in this position, he just has to trade queens. Otherwise, I'm going to play rook b4 and rook g8, rook c8, and win. So after this, it's game over. There are no more tricks, no more resistance. But yeah, I have to say I'm extremely unhappy with how I played this game. Obviously, my opponent played a weird opening, which not only allows me to equalize, but gives me a great advantage. And I saw the ways to win, but I didn't want to risk going into them because I was too weak to calculate everything properly. That means that sharp positions is something I have to improve at, and I have to improve my calculation. Yeah, and that I shouldn't be afraid of going into a winning position, which I assume is winning, if I think it's winning. So anyway, yeah, I did manage to win. I won like 10 moves or 20 moves later. The conversion was simple. I don't really want to show you that. Yeah, and tomorrow I'm going to show you a game I'm actually happy with. I played a strong FIDE master in round 3. You're going to see tomorrow. Stay tuned for more chess. Bye-bye.